Hello Roundhouse, TEDx. I'm about a week too early though. I wish I could be there because it seems like I've turned up and there's no one here. Well, jokes aside, I'm sorry I can't make it today because I'm in Australia on tour. However, I'd like to be there in spirit. We need an education revolution right here at TEDx, and this is where it begins. Do we need to re-establish and reawaken the way that we educate young people today? I think young people are very distracted by the internet, social media, and all of these other networks, that the reality of being in a classroom with normal books and sitting down with a teacher ranting on at the front of the class has to drastically change. We're almost in the dark ages. And I think the education system as we know it is very old-fashioned. What I learned from education in my upcoming was about punctuality, about turning up. That was the education in itself. The lessons and what was involved in those lessons, really, in this world, don't really stand for anything, to be fair. I never learned anything about religious education. I never learned anything about geography. I never learned any of these things until I actually left school. What I do believe is that the education I had outside of the school fence was very enlightening towards, art and urban art and the spoken word of poetry and everything else. And I don't think I'm the odd one here. I think a lot of us would agree that there are lots of little Clifford Joseph Prices running around there that don't have an outlet for how they feel. And I think if you give a child the right subject and you put those subjects in front of them, that they can actually blossom in a lot more strengths than we actually believe them to be. I think for me, I found art within school. Everything else, I'm talking CSE English grade 5. I'm talking picked up and thrown out of the math lesson because I was that bad. Now, part of that was because I didn't want to learn anything else about anything else because I knew that it wouldn't make any difference to me in the real world. And here I am in the real world with you all, and I'm really glad that I kind of rebelled against all of that because I was educated outside of the school walls, which seems diabolical, but it's the truth. I learned from street culture. I learned from, the application of medium to a surface. And I had good mentors, and those mentors stretched from, a sculpting teacher to a still life, composition drawer, to a graffiti writer, to a guitarist or an electronic wizard like Howie B to be able to sit me down in front of a computer and talk about arrangement. So I think that all of the different ways that I've been educated, when I actually lay them on the table and draw them out, are completely different than the way that school is drawn up now. And now I think the discipline aspect of school, going to a place that we can learn on time and being punctual, is fantastic. And I think that's what 99% of school is. Going to a place to learn. What we're learning inside those schools has to change in terms of how we socially interact with people and what the values and the disvalues are of the internet, for example. I think if social media has been so powerful to influence your own kids, then why not go with that and look at how we interact with that? Education surely has to look at virals and look at the way that we're being turned on and tuned in, if you like, to the way that the world works now. You can't just shut the door on the internet and say, that's not the right way to teach our children, and let's move forward and put the blinkers on and carry on at school. That's not the way. I think that street culture, as far as it's concerned, outside of the school, has been self-taught because they've had to, because that's where your will to survive as a human being kicks in. And I think if I had my choice with the education system, believe me, it would be probably one of the most outrageous schools to go to. But I'll tell you this now, every kid will want to go there because you know that you're going to fulfill your potential of what you can really be. And surely every kid wants to fulfill their potential. Maybe they don't know right now, but there's a way of tapping into that. You know, I am lucky in the sense that I took chance and opportunity and created the look to pursue a dream. It wasn't a very clear dream, but it was a dream that I could pursue. And in fact, the morals of me learning in that particular way allowed me to stand here in front of you and to say to you that the dream isn't complete. I am still learning every day. I will leave this interview with you, I will go out there into that world, and I'm still here to absorb and take things in. But the reasons why I'm taking them in this way is because the principles that have laid out for this way of learning are a lot better. For me anyway. And I think that can be, let me be that example to you. I've got to think about what it's like for me when I first began. I knew what I wanted to see, but I didn't know how to get there. And that's what I pledge, to be able to allow a young child to have the vision, to be able to put that picture in his head and say, okay, let's break it down. How are we going to get this kid there? That's my pledge.